I have many of those stories, and I do have Franny put me together my whole entire life, and he is still on speed dial. But it's taken a leap. When you go down, you just pull yourself together and you go back and charge whatever you're trying to do, whether it's sports, whether it's recovery, whether it's a job.
Hey, welcome to Girls Gone Gritty, and it just happens to be leap year. We decided that we were just going to leap right in. And even though it only happens once every 4 years, what better way for you guys to say hello to Farley, Jennifer, and Darian?
Hi,
Yeah.
guys.
Hi, we're so excited that you've joined us for our first podcast ever. We are Girls Gone Gritty, and we are doing it beach, mountain, and city all the time. We're going to come to you each week with exciting stuff that we're talking about as if there's nobody watching, nobody thinking, and nobody really taking any time to judge or but really just be ourselves and come to you straight talk, straight shooting on all topics, anytime, anywhere.
I know there's no topic that we can't talk about, that's for sure. And today, Farley, kick us off with some leap year, will ya?
Well, first of all, leap year is weird. No one really knows what it means. We know that it happens once every 4 years. We know that it's on February 29th. But how did it come to be, and like why is it so relevant? Everybody kind of knows that it has to do with, a little extra time that catches up on the calendar, and if we don't take this, day every 4 years, our seasons get screwed up. But did you know that Julius Caesar was the one that really came up with this? This was his brainchild, which is pretty fascinating that back in, I think it was actually 46 BC, they recognized that there was extra time and they were all trying to come up with different calendars. And I think honestly, he was the one that said, things are kind of like not falling the way that they're supposed to fall. So let's just take this extra year. I had no clue. What you girls think leap year was all about?
Jan, well, when I was thinking about it, when you guys first said, hey, let's do leap year, I'm like, what? What? Like, who even thinks about leap year? I'm like, okay.
I said to Jen, why is there a February 29th this month?
Well, when you think about it and then actually you kind of dive in, there's basically adding an extra day every 4 years to our calendar, and it's all aligned with the astrological seasons. And it's all about the Georgian calendar going off of 365 days, according to the Earth's orbit around the sun. So each year you go around the Earth.
I think it might be the Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian. Sorry, Gregorian. Yes.
That's so great. I would have said it Georgian, or I don't even know. I didn't even attempt it for a reason.
Obviously, that's why, because I was like, but without leap days, the calendar would be off by 5 hours and 48 minutes and 45 seconds each year.
Do you know what today would be if we didn't have a leap year? I thought this was really fascinating. It would be September 2534. So 2534. It would be there have been 513 leap years and 513 leap days further on our count.
Well, that's exactly right. So they said after 100 years, our seasons would be off by 25 days. And then eventually, months we call February, March would feel like basically the Northern Hemisphere because it just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. So
our summer, as we know it, would be December, is what it said.
I feel like that right now. I feel like seasons got pushed forward a couple months anyhow. But yeah. It's super interesting when you think about it. And there's so many fascinating timestamps that happened on basically the leap year, right, Jen? I mean, I know you have a list of them.
There's so many fun things that happen on leap year that are amazing. And I think that
weird and creepy
and weird and,
which brings the dual side of leap year. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Is it lucky? Is it unlucky?
Well, and the other interesting thing is that when, demarcation of time, there's like, you go back to things and they're not even sure if Jesus Christ was born on a leap year. Like that's a disputable fact. They're not sure. They think it was 4 BCE, which would be after Julius Caesar decided there was a leap year. Black Death, that's a fun one, which was one of the first and most devastating pandemics happened on a leap year. We had great things that happened on a leap year. We had the first modern Olympics that happened on a leap year. So that's really cool. And
Pilgrims landed.
The Pilgrims, they landed. What is it? Day 1860?
1620. The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, Massachusetts.
And I'm sure...
And Benjamin Franklin proved that lightning is electricity in 1752.
Well, women got the right to vote. Hello. It's kind of a monumental day for us, which is bizarre. We only get one every 4 years. We could actually propose to a man on leap year for whatever reason that was like allowed.
Well, I think the women's rights happening on a leap year is so significant and crazy, and the stars aligned. And of course, we did it on a leap year, right? I mean, it had to happen that way. I also think make a statement. Make a statement. The Model T was introduced on a leap year in 1908.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think it's cool. I think the first sound film by Disney, that Steamboat Willie that we all kind of grew up with and knew, like that happened on a leap year. I also think it's cool that the first birth control was the first year of the Hollywood Hall of Fame, Joanne Woodward in 1960.
The Beatles invasion started on a leap year, which is crazy. Martin Luther King was assassinated on leap year. I mean,
gold was discovered in 1848. And then also Rome burned, which was, tragic.
A Band-Aid was invented on leap year.
Oh, wait. Are you talking about in 1984? That was Band-Aid, actually, the Band-Aid, like the Band-Aid. Remember?
I'm looking at it and I was like, wow, the Band-Aid was. I'm going to circle back and say this because we've had this debate too. If you're born on leap year, do you celebrate your birthday on February 28th or March 1st? So what I did uncover is this is a day that legally does not exist. So if you are born on leap year, you can't vote. You can get your driver's license, all the things.
True? Is that really true?
March 1st. Yes, it is. 1000%. I'm going to actually read you the quote that I found. And it was pretty fascinating because I thought, all right, it makes sense. It says, hold on a second, I'm looking for it. For someone born on February 29th, the first day they would legally be able to drive, vote, buy alcohol, join the army, and start collecting Social Security would be on March 1st in non-leap years. They are known as leaplings or leapers.
Yeah, I was going to say leaplings.
Leaplings.
So if I was a leapling, then I might be actually like 30 years old. I wouldn't count any of the days. I'm like, there's no way I'm 45. No. But it just every 4 years would be when I would be.
So we're podcastlings.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love being podcastlings.
We also were wondering, are we going to have an anniversary as podcasters or are we not? Well, now we know that it goes by the amount of podcasts that you had. So we'll celebrate our 100th podcast, not our leap year debut.
Because we're not waiting 4 years to celebrate anything, because that's not happening. But
also with like when they're saying if something's started on leap year, it's good luck or bad luck. I said, I'm going with the good luck. So we're kicking it off because it's positive, it's good luck. And that's the way I'm going. I'm going with the stars.
It's an exclamation point. We're leaping into something that we absolutely had zero knowledge. I mean, maybe we all listen to podcasts here and there, but this is a leap of faith for us because it's a technological situation to start a podcast. It's not simple.
Which is a whole other podcast. Don't worry, we'll get to that at some point because the three of us starting a podcast is like an anomaly in itself that only leap year can explain.
I mean, exactly. It's true. And you know what? Our demographic that we're actually really going after is almost like millennials to like the 50 something. So we're covering like a very large demographic. And we feel like we can talk to people within that age range very easily. We want to talk to our younger self at some point and share some tips and some strategies that we might not have done when we were that age. And this might have been something that we turned around and decided not to do if we had thrown in the towel relatively quickly.
Oh, because of all our
1000%.
yeah, it's being persistent.
I mean, we're
It's
also
being
trying to stay more technologically savvy as we get older, as we realize we don't want to turn into our parents. So this is going to help us. We think this is our incentive to do a podcast
oh,
to stay
totally.
relevant.
1000%.
Well,
1000%.
when we're talking about that, like, and you're thinking leap year and how all these cool things happened, electricity,
The
going
Titanic
back, the
sunk.
Titanic sunk. But
Let's talk
we're
about the fact the global pandemic happened, ladies.
okay. We don't like to talk about that.
I had my birthday. I had a significant birthday. Big 50. Don't tell anybody. And I had it on leap year 2020. It was Saturday. I was like, the stars aligned. Everything's perfect. I'm so excited. I had the best party ever. And everybody called it the end of the world party after that because the world shut down on March 9th of 2020.
Yeah, it was the last
and
party.
You
that
went out with a
changed.
bang.
I
You
went
went
out
out
with a huge bang, like I always do. And you can't blame me. I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with the global pandemic. I made the best out of it. But it's so interesting how 2020, pivotal year. And then the other thing I thought about that was really interesting that people forget was although it didn't actually happen in 2000, it was because of 2000 that we had we had Y2K. Do you remember Y2K? When everybody
Yeah.
was going crazy that the world was going to end, that none of the
Yes.
computers were going to roll. I mean, like, I think that's pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm looking right now at another note. Leap year is skipped every 100 years to help bring the calendar back into alignment. It's skipped if it falls on the start of a century, unless that century is divisible by 400. So the next one skipped will be 2100.
Oh,
That's wild.
interesting. Math
And if
is
you-
so amazing. Math
yeah,
is
yeah.
amazing. Math is amazing.
So when you're thinking about leap year,
I'm going.
Uh,
Sorry, I'm going to paddle.
that's what happens when you have a
Whoa.
podcast.
Tell you, honey, we're live right now. I know it's not my fault. The keys. This is real life right now. This is real live podcasting. He wants to take my car, and no, I like. Well, you're gonna have to take some hot water and pour
It's
it on your
because it's a
windshield.
leap year. This is happening on our leap year podcast, is why we're never been interrupted.
Put your car on defrost so that it can
That's a lie.
defrost your
We're
window.
always interrupted.
Air conditioning.
Sorry, people.
Put the AC on. It actually.
AC or heat or defrost.
Oh my
AC,
God.
AC in the when you put the defrost for your windows. If you put AC on, it works with the moisture and does it quicker. Just a little tip out there for anybody who would like to know.
Goodness.
So when
Oh my
when we circle back to leap year, I was thinking of you have good things that happen, bad things that happen, and then it makes me start thinking, okay, let me think. What dates in my mind would actually become a good thing or have a negative connotation, almost like a superstition? So if you're starting a podcast, or if you're having a birthday, or if you have an event and you're like, oh my goodness, it falls on February 29th, it falls on leap year. Is that a superstition you're going to have if something goes bad? Like, I never want that day to happen. Or is it going to be a good thing? Like, I'm waiting for 4 years to plan my biggest event on that day. Because when I think of things that I kind of leap into with skiing, I have that date in my head of, all right, April. It's almost as if I have a superstition about April as I leap into skiing. So we say, kind of circling back to that. Now, do you ladies have?
Wait. What's significant about April,
Yeah,
Dee?
why
Give us
April?
why April.
I mean, month.
So when we're
whole month?
research,
The whole month?
No, but as we're researching, and so many people say, "Oh my gosh, it's like it's voodoo that day." I think of me sometimes for 10 years in a row, I got injured in April. It was bizarre. Maybe even 12 years. Broke my
April
neck.
Fools. Not.
Yeah, not. Sometimes I wish it was that. But
Were you skiing East Coast in April, or was it all over the world? Because I'm
it
thinking,
was
is it conditional, or is it just was it really just not, or is it, I don't know.
it what it is that it's April, end of the season, like you're really going
Mm.
for it.
You're
Sometimes
always
it's
really going for it, though.
Look at her sweater today. Look at her sweater. Speaking of, we're going to
oh,
share a fabulous photo of Darian's leap off of cliffs into the abyss. And you'll understand what we mean by her taking a leap of faith every time she launches or hucks herself off of a face. Crazy cat.
Her sweater is leaping, is multiple skiers leaping. So for those that are not able to see us on YouTube or any of the video platforms, that's what we're seeing is Darian always in her ski attire coming to us from Vermont. So yeah, I mean, Dee, you leap into everything. So
Head first.
here's the other thing is that you got to take the leap, and sometimes the leap of faith goes really well, and if it doesn't, to me it's like, well, you learn something, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you are somebody who always, yeah, obviously got back on skis. So, I mean, I think
She
it's
broke
like
her neck
anything.
for those that don't know the story because I don't know that we covered it, but it is actually available on Darian.com, correct? I just
Darian,
showed some.
DarianBoyle.com.
I just showed somebody. We were just talking about you when we were in Vermont this past weekend, and the McGinty's had not seen your crash, and it's pretty heavy, but everything went right that day because you had a voice in your head that let you know that you had definitely broken your neck. You had landed probably in the best way possible with your head up the mountain, your feet heading south, and you just knew to stay still. And I mean, here's this person that had a halo that I had to help bathe, and never really did she complain. I mean, it was a very touch and go situation for a couple weeks with regards to whether or not there was going to be paralysis. It was heavy. We got a phone call in the middle of the night. But here's this person that not only still skis and rips and like just shreds on a surfboard and stand up paddle boards around New York City. That just shows you that you can take a leap. It might not land well, but you can get back up on your feet again and continue to leap. So it's how you want to interpret it. I never looked at leap year as a negative. I always thought like, wow, it's cool. I don't really kind of understand it, but I like the energy that revolves around it. So I understand now why all these monumental things have happened on that day, because why would you not want an exclamation point with it, something that you do, and that day tees you up for that?
And you get a bonus day. I mean, think about it. Every other year is 365, and this year you get 366. Make the most of it. That's why we're here. We want you to make the most of every single day. And leap year just to me denotes the fact that you got another extra bonus each day you open your eyes, right? And again, with what Darian, with what happened to you, was that on a leap year?
Oh God.
2003.
Oh,
But mind you, my nickname's Digger, and I've broken over 75 bones. So I am sure throughout my life and my career of breaking bones, I'm sure something was on a leap year. Who knows?
We're gonna have to
Every
go
year,
back and look.
75 bones. Just let that settle for a minute, our viewing,
yes,
listening public. Just 75
bones.
yes.
So you
It's,
have your orthopedist on speed dial?
Yes, Dr. Franny Flum. My whole life,
There
my
we go.
mom's bestie has put me together. The best is when I would call after breaking my neck and in my halo for 3, 4 months,
Oh my God.
aspen collar. I broke it in April, and in October, I'm like, "Hey, mom, I'm going to the Melbourne Cup, and I'm going to go surf. See ya by myself." I met a ton of people at the Olympics, and she's like, "Wait, you can barely move your neck." I was like the girl from 16 Candles that really couldn't move. I was with
Oh
her
my
little
God, Joan
nesting on.
Cusack. Joan
Yes,
Cusack.
totally.
I love her. She's so
And
good.
I get to Australia, she's like, "Go have at it." And then I'm there and I'm surfing the one day, and it's like you have to walk across these big rocks, and this big set comes, and I'm like, "All right, you have to just brace yourself to get out. So got out, surfed all day, big. The next day, I'd met a ton of people that day that I surfed, hammered a ton of beers, was a little hungover the next day, and I go to surf the same spot, half the size. I'm like, I got this. Walk out. The wave and the board pick me up and kind of throw me. And I'm like, oh God, I can't hit my neck. That still hasn't, properly. I don't have all the flexion back. Throw my tailbone out, hit my tailbone, crack it, whatever. And I call Dr. Franny Flum from Australia. Hey, Franny, don't tell my mom, but I think I hurt my tailbone. He's like, oh my gosh. So, yes, I have many of those stories, and I do have Franny put me together my whole entire life, and he is still on speed dial. So, but it's taken a leap. You just, when you go down, you just pull yourself together and you go back and charge whatever you're trying to do, whether it's sports, whether it's recovery, whether it's a job. I think of Dee Dee, we moved her to Vermont. We said, all right, let's put you in school in Vermont. We're going to stay up here and we're going to ski, and you're going to go to school up here and meet friends. I mean, that is a leap of faith. Like, hey, let's go charge it. Dee Dee, our 9-year-old, is like, yeah, that sounds great, Mom. Puts on her gear, hops on a bus, walks into the school. The next day, she's like, I don't think I want to take the bus. I'm like, great, because you have to leave a half an hour earlier than if I drove you. And she's loving it. But that's the examples you have to do. You can never second guess yourself. You just leap headfirst into everything, which I've done my whole life.
I wrote down that I think, like taking the leap means going into something that could be unfamiliar, that might require a bit of faith, grit, stamina, courage, the fear of the unknown. But that's what's exciting, like us doing this podcast. I mean, you feel a little exposed. You're a little stressed out or nervous because it's unfamiliar terrain or territory, but then it becomes familiar and you teach yourself. So I think like our overall message today was that for you to just take a leap, it's exciting. I'm not looking at as like a negative. I'm not looking back in history and thinking, geez, this is kind of a bad luck or a taboo day. I think it's whatever you make it to be. If you want to launch something, it's going to be a great day. If you want to take your first, steps into a direction, good for you. So I think it really has to do with your attitude and kind of the energy that you put out there with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish or start or leap into.
Right. Head first.
I mean,
Always.
I feel like
Send it.
this crew, I will say, like we are individuals like demonstrated with this podcast that like you ask me once, that's all it takes. I'll jump into anything.
Spontaneity always wins.
And it really, really always does win. And I feel like, taking a leap of faith is also just like trusting your gut on like, you're going to make it okay. And you're going to make a decision based on all the available information. Now, taking a leap doesn't mean going into something without intention. Like Darian's not hucking herself off the side of a mountain without having done all the work that it takes, right? So there is some element, because I don't want any of our younger viewers to think like, oh, you just throw caution to the wind. Yes, sometimes you just got to go for it and get outside your comfort zone. But then there's other times that you want to be smart and intelligent and surround yourself with people that are going to help you when you choose to make a leap, to make that leap the right way, because you don't want to leap into the abyss either, right? So, and I think that's where people can say that's when it went negative. It was maybe you didn't have, let's be honest, some of it's luck. Some of it's, didn't have the skills. And some of it was you just weren't ready. So I think it's, being ready, being primed, like we've tried to do on the last bit on launching our podcast and getting all our ducks in a row and trying to be organized. But then once you're ready to just go for it with everything in every ounce of your being.
I
Always
leapt
go for
into
it.
the swimwear business. Ooh, I had no business leaping into swimwear and producing, bathing suits, but I certainly loved them. I had a drawer full, and that was my wardrobe growing up in Florida, a bathing suit and flip-flops. But all of a sudden I'm looking at my kids wearing the same bathing suit that 50 other kids were wearing on the beach and getting all stretched out and terrible elastic. And I wanted my girls to look cute. So I started a business that I really had no business doing. And it ended up becoming very successful. So, it was like a leap of faith, but you also have to kind of believe in yourself. And if you have a great idea and it sits in your head and you don't put any energy behind it, you don't try to make it come into fruition, then it's just like the pictures that get stuck in cameras,
Oh,
you
those are
know?
the worst. Yeah.
Like that commercial was so great. It's just, "Hi, mom. Are you ever going to download these images?" I mean, so maybe that's our challenge to our listener is, what have you been thinking about doing? What are you afraid of? What do you want to leap towards? Maybe this is your year. It's a leap year. Take the
What
leap.
take the big leap. And
Take-
far when you talk about leaping into businesses, I have to say that my biggest headfirst off the high dive, off the super cliff, was me deciding to leave Fox Sports and broadcasting, where I had a great job. It's like I lost a bet and I jumped headfirst into the boat manufacturing business. So, yes, I was Tommy Boy. If anyone has ever seen that movie, my dad's like, "Yeah, sure. You want to come down and run the business?" Yeah, right, Dad. I've never tried that. I've been in TV forever, and sounds about right. Great. I'll never regret it. It was the best job I've ever
You
done.
sound like
I
you know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
No, I loved it, and who in their right mind would be like, "Yeah, sure, I'm gonna go down and
We bought one of
run."
those boats and it actually
Yeah,
floated. It was great. It was a great
it's
boat.
it's you know what? It's a twin step, so it was a little ahead of its time. It was before Yellowfin and a ton of other regulator didn't do that, but Yellowfin, they bought the other molds, and that's a whole boat manufacturing conversation, but I got down to Florida and it's like, all right, let me figure out how this all works out. I mean, I would go door to door selling our boats like Tommy Boy did with the brake pads. And they, hey, we have this great boat. It's I tell them all the details about the engines and how it runs and the fuel burn and over scheduling the layers of fiberglass. And they'd be like, yeah, not interested. Slam. I'd be like, all right, I'm going again, door to door until you found that person who all of a sudden said, I would like an order for 15 boats. Then I'd see another one. I would like an order for boats. I want an order for boats. And it was being diligent. It was not taking no for an answer because none of us like to lose by any means. And it was great. I saw boats on the water. We were in the Bahamas. We had boats. We had boats on both sides of Florida. Um, and then the rest is history. As the market crashed, I restructured the company, sold all the boats, and still have the drawings to get back in business. But
The
I love
original
it.
concept always keep the original concept, right? You can
Yeah,
tweak the business, but maybe
totally. One day, one day we'll manufacture them again. But it was not bowing down. And Tommy Boy at the end, he sold all the brake pads, Callahan brake parts, and he saved the day in the company. Our company, it's not in business anymore, but I learned a lot.
you had a good time during the run, and that's it too, right? Making the most of what you have each day. Something that most people that know me here in New Jersey know that I will be somebody who just spontaneously decides that I'm going to do something. Whereas, like we've had environmental days, I'm very involved in the environment, and in order to kind of shake people up, I don't tell people what I'm doing. I'll show up in a blue unitard and be the river for the day, and a very conservative town which Farley lives in,
With blue
um,
hair,
with blue hair, because middle
plastic
aged
bags all
middle
over her body.
yeah, that's a different outfit that I didn't
That's
tell
that's
anybody I
when you're
showed up to
You have a
in
great
Trenton.
body, Jen.
Oh,
you have you have a great body.
well, I like the idea that, like, leaping into like something that's your true north. Like for me, when I like embody and like get myself into, let's say, character or like dress in a way, I'm just trying to wake people up, right? It's like every day is amazing, and if you give me a theme, I'll run with it. And hopefully that leap of faith into trusting your true north inspire somebody to do the same. Like, well, I can, I don't know, dye my hair pink. I can, show up at a board meeting and speak up and say something that maybe I didn't think I could say. I can do something for my child that's, maybe against the grain. Those are the leaps of faith that I really want to inspire our listening audience to do is, when you have that hesitation because of what other people are going to think, like that's where you take your leap of faith. That's where leap year to me goes back to our women empowerment and why women could propose, because truly the whole like male female, that whole thing has changed so significantly in our lifetime. I mean, it's changed in a heartbeat, and it just demonstrates how we as a society have to make these fundamental shifts where we know it's right, where we know that the morality of things needs to be, shifted. And like I said, that can be teeny tiny things in your own daily life. It can be larger things in your family life, and you can go crazy in society and really try and shift that. So I agree with Far, like, let's empower our listeners to like, let us know what you guys did to be a leap. And it doesn't have to be changing the world. It doesn't have to be a Gandhi moment. It can be a Jen Berenius, Darian Boyle, Farley Boyle moment where like you knew that the world is a little bit better because you were here.
And you can be original. I mean, I'm looking at this timeline and I'm still like blown away that Apple, Microsoft Incorporation launched 1976. First female prime minister, Margaret Thatcher, was announced 1988. It's like actually Superstorm Sandy, 2012. I mean, it's like everybody is just wanting to kind of leave their mark, right, on that very, very powerful day that we didn't realize was so powerful, even though it really is powerful because it's keeping our seasons where we want them to be. And the fact that they had the initiative back in BC, Roman times, right, to come up with something to keep things the way that we know it is actually really fascinating. So
They were an amazing. They were like when you and I
brilliant.
know I would love to do a podcast on Roman history and the influence that it's had on modern society because it's enormous.
I mean, they were no joke.
They were no joke. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
it's really
Facebook.
crazy.
Even Facebook was launched
Yep.
by Zuckerberg in 2004. So
I wonder what their thinking is. Oh,
Which think
just
about
like
that.
us.
That's 20 years ago. That's all that is. It's just 20 years ago.
It's actually Abraham Lincoln was elected president of the United States, leading to the the American Civil War. I mean, that was in 1860. I mean, it's some very monumental days. It's a day in history.
Well,
So maybe you make it your day in history by leaping into something.
Well, I think all of us girls are taking a leap and we're launching our podcast. So the Girls Gone Gritty podcast is launching. We're leaping into the podcast world February 29th. We can't wait. Thank you all for listening. Love everyone. We can't wait till the next episodes. We're bringing you so much fun content from entertainment to what's next to sports to fashion.
Real
You don't know.
stories, unscripted.
Real stories. Yes.
Mistakes that we will share, tears that we could, share as well. But it's all, truly coming full circle as we're watching our kids go out and do what we're doing or what we've done. And I think if we can just kind of share some key tips with our audience on everything, it will act. It's like a cheat. What is it? Cliff Notes for Dummies. That's kind of what we want to do. We want to do like a little cheat sheet or Cliff Notes for Dummies on basically every subject area. So
and we're always coming from, and I wore my shirt today, coming from a place of love. Like we're coming from a great place. We want to inspire you. We want to be with you through this journey of life. We want to help you, like Farley said, with like some tips and some tricks and some insights that, hopefully will make your day a little bit better. And again, make the world a better place because if you're in a good place, your family's going to be in a better place. Your friends are going to be a better place. We'll all be in a better place together. And that's really what we're trying to inspire on this leap of faith. February 29th, 2024, a day that will go down in history with Girls Gone Gritty. I mean, it's just so amazing how we came here on leap year. And I'm sure after you're wondering, all this talk about leaping into things, I mean, how we leapt into Girls Gone Gritty. I mean, what is that and how have we come here? Is probably your next question you're asking out there in our listening audience. So we thought we'd take some time and explain to you how we have arrived here on the 29th of February.
With the name Grit
Grit,
Well,
associated with our tag.
grit.
well, so many people have said to me, like, okay, Girls Gone Gritty, where did you guys come up with that name? And like, what exactly does that mean? And to me, grit is a word that you hope somebody describes you as having. And you hope that, if you had to describe yourself, that you could actually use that as a noun, but it kind of is like one of those adjective nouns that kind of explains that you're the person that rolls up your sleeves, gets mud in her face. Somebody wants you in the trenches with them. You get it done. You're game on. And so we feel like the three of us embody the spirit of grit, and we are freaking gritty in everything that we do.
And for
D.
me, yeah, I mean, I think grit, everybody has a form of grit. I think grit is giving it your all, never giving up. And when you're knocked down, you get up and you shake it off and you try again. I mean, I think of grit. I was watching my nephew play hockey the other day, and he just came in, little strider, knocked this kid off who's twice his size, knocked him down, blew his helmet off. And the guy kind of looked at him like, at this little guy, like, oh my God. I mean, that's great. He put his helmet back on. I think of times of breaking over 75 bones. Every time I would kind of go, okay, make the phone call, mom. Yeah, I hurt myself again, but I'm going back to skiing. I thought I was gonna retire, but I think I'm good. I'm good. I shook it off, I'd always go PT, go to Hawaii, surf, come back like, "All right, yeah, I'm back in skiing," but it's never giving up and getting down and dirty. I mean,
Totally.
you're
Totally. And
even and you it doesn't have to be just sports, it's in
no,
life.
it's in life. And I mean, I think when I think of the word grit, I really think about like, like what's gritty, like, and that's earthy. Like that's like, just getting into the mud and getting into the muck and like being willing to like, just be filthy with whatever it is you want to get done and being unafraid of what that looks like. Like and like to me, it's just the embodiment of being human. And to Farley's point, like being gritty is a compliment and it's I want grit. I want my kids to have grit. I want my parents to have grit. I want people that are in life to feel like they don't ever have to quit.
Think about when you first learned how to ride a bike. Okay. I was in and out of ditches. I was pulling grit out of my boo boos on my knees. Okay. Grit is pebbles and little stones and little pieces of material. You've got to be willing to fall down and get back up, and you've got to be able to dust yourself off with a smile on your face. So for me, as a tomboy growing up and in an all boy neighborhood, I had to have grit really quickly, or else my forts were going to be possessed by them. They were just going to take everything that was like mine. And I'll never forget one day I had somebody trying to take over my tree fort, and it was a badass tree fort. I made clay balls. They were my bombs. They were, so that I could keep the boys away from infiltrating. And I had an arm. And I just remember they were getting close. There were a lot of them. And I just started firing, firing my clay bombs. And I hit Matthew Bowers in the mouth and broke his front tooth. Now, I mean, that right there was like stressful. But at the same point in time, that's when I became one of the boys. And I was in and I got picked for everything. And I like became one of them. So it's like grit is just not quitting, not being afraid to go all in, not being afraid to try something new that might be out of your comfort zone, and just giving 110% at anything and everything and saying you're going to do something and following through. I mean, I could go on and on. I love the word grit.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
we love the word grit. Grit has
And
been embodied in my family's life since we were born. Same thing growing up with 3 brothers and a sister, but my 3 brothers, "Okay, this is how you play hockey. You get in the goal, and we're gonna do slap shots right at your head, and you have to try to block the shot." "Uh, okay," you know? Here's a football, and they just drill it at you. You're like, okay. So you learn like kind of how to play the boys way. Cause I wasn't sitting on the sidelines with pom poms like, go, go, go. But I kind of you take the grit now into everyday life, like with business, dropping into business. Each one of us have jumped into a business head first. Some have succeeded, some had failed. We're going in again, once again, girls gone gritty, jumping in head first. Hey, skin like a rhino, like we say. It's you go all in, you fall down, you get up, pull up your bootstraps, and keep it going.
You might be
Eh,
afraid. You're not unafraid.
no.
You could be afraid, but it takes grit to make the jump.
What
Yeah,
1000%. I mean, I think about far when we did the flag football with for a great charity here, lunch break in our backyard, and I got a phone call from one of the organizers asking me if my boys would play football, and my first question was, "Wait, what? What do you mean the boys play football?" I was like, "What about the women? What about the moms?" And they're like, "Well, what?" I was like, "You need to have a women's division." And he's like, "What?" And it was the biggest division. We took this charity from raising, a few $1,000s to tens of $1,000 just because people wanted to watch the moms get gritty because
yeah,
that's interesting and that's fun. And I think about the fact that and I wonder, and I question the listening audience, and I'm not sure that our kids are being taught the way that Farley and Darian and I grew up with, like going figuring it out with a diverse group of people. There's very little neighborhood play with a diverse group of boys and girls of ranging ages and backgrounds. So I think a good lesson maybe to take away from today's segment and what we're trying to empower you with on Girls Gone Gritty is get outside that comfort zone. Send your kid outside, without an agenda, without a schedule, and let them go get in the dirt and figure out what's their grit.
Without calling it a play date.
yeah. Go
Like
lock the doors. Come
just
back
go
for
outside
a
and come back
snack.
when the sun goes down. I mean, I like the idea of the dinner bell. I knew I was going home because I was hungry and the sun was going down. But, as I look at some of the things that I Google searched grit. I wanted to see what, was out there. And it's showing courage and resolve, being brave, tough, uncompromising, having spunk, being determined, resiliency, ambitious, drive, having the stamina and the fortitude needed to push through any challenge or obstacle. So it's being gritty across the board from your work ethic to how you play the game to how are in your relationships. It doesn't mean being too tough and not having a heart, because I'll tell you what, we are all about heart here too. It's just,
It's right here in the love shirt.
I love your love
I mean,
shirt.
wait, well,
Oh, that's gritty. That's grittier than the love shirt.
Farley has on a Rolling Stones white T-shirt with big red lips, and the
well, there is a
big
Nike.
tongue coming out. Oh, and the Nike
It is
swish.
that. Yeah, it is
It's
funny.
who doesn't
My,
love the
my love
Rolling
shirt is
Stones?
just one of my favorite shirts because it's February in Monmouth County, New Jersey. So you need a little cashmere like Co's sweater. I wear this probably out of February days, most days.
Yeah. Well, it's fiery like yourself.
Yeah, it's red.
Yeah, but
Another
we love
And it's red.
we
Another
love
thing that I stumbled upon that I thought was amazing is we are all like pearls, okay? If we have a female audience right now, we love the men. We want you guys to tune in as well. And if you're listening, awesome. We're going to have things that are going to make you want to pay attention and listen to what we have to say because of our grit. But think about pearls. Pearls start from sand, right? They get compressed and they become something absolutely beautiful. And it's all from within. It's not like exterior beauty. So it's what makes you up, it's your internal blueprint.
Yeah.
And if we can, shed a little light on what the word grit means so that you want to embody that word, if you haven't made it your own, that's our goal. Because I don't think if you don't have grit in this day and age, I don't know if you're gonna prevail.
Well,
well,
and be happy.
I think everybody has their own form of grit, whether it's
Yeah. You should be
sport.
able to define it.
Yeah, I think that's a good question for all the audience out there is saying, hey, what do you perceive your grit as? What is your grit? And if you don't know, then try to find it. Go try to find that grit. Whether go seek a project, go push yourself up to the edge and then jump off the edge and see how that feels and then come back. It doesn't mean you're throwing yourself off a cliff when you're skiing and you don't know if you're going to stick it.
Because I'm not doing
That's
that.
we're not saying that, but just take that grit and take it to life. Take on a project that, hey, you know what? This is so over my head. I'm drowning in this, but I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to be successful and I'm going to pull together a team just like we did here that's going to help me make it successful and find your grit. Dig deep and find it. If you don't have it, look for it and bring it home.
Because
I thought this
remember,
was
because remember, the most important things is like Farley said, pearls and diamonds. Like grit is about pressure and time, right? Like if you give it as enough, time, and you've endured like
a
the
lot of
pressure
pressure.
of like whatever that is, like that's what the beauty is revealed, right? And sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And you're not really sure. And that's why like we're trying to do here. We surround ourselves with people that, inspire and empower you and are truthful and honest, and that's what we're going to bring to you, each week is those real conversations that are unscripted, that are gritty, and that we hope that you'll take out into your day, and you'll see the day a little bit differently sometimes, better other times, and you'll find your own resolve and your own grit, and that's really what we hope to do with our show.
We're
Yeah.
also going to bring on guests that have grit. And one of the things that if you Google grit, okay, if you look up the definition, I thought this was so interesting. It says it's not a word you hear often, but when teaching youth on what a solid work ethic is, the word grit should be used. So make sure you start using that word with your
I love
kids
that.
so they
Yeah.
grow into it and they feel it and they embody it and they are grit. Like kids need grit in this generation. I mean, I'm scared for my kids,
They're
it's crazy.
they're they're a little soft these days. Kids don't like to get their hands dirty. I'm just saying they don't. It's people are
They
handing
need to be picking the grit out of their boo-boos and their scabs and
yeah.
their
Well,
road
that
rash.
that
That's
that'll
a
be
whole
one of our segments. That'll be one of
totally
our segments between the helicopter moms, Stacy Crow, Chopper One, you know who you are, and then
yeah,
the bulldozer moms, and
My scars
there's
tell
everybody's
stories.
coming from a good
yeah.
place. Don't get me wrong, but we all need to take back and know that the kids have to figure it out sometimes too, and we're better because of it. They need to endure their own pressure over time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, hey kids, go out, get gritty, learn it, own it, and pass it on. And grit,
Amazing.
we're gonna expand that word to all the different generations out there: moms, dads, kids, grandkids, everything. Let's
Well,
do this,
stay
girls.
tuned as we
Yeah,
freaking get to the nitty-gritty on just
yep,
about everything.
yeah. There's nothing we're leaving out.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Girls Gone Gritty. We're going to be coming to you mountain, beach, and city, bringing you real, authentic, unscripted conversations about just everything you can in life. We look forward to sharing our weeks with you. And don't forget to follow us all over the place. You're going to see us all over the map. Girls Gone Gritty.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace
Thanks for
out.
listening.
Later.
Love you, girls.
Bye.
Bye.